You know what they say about humans and their inexplicable ability to adopt anything that moves? Well, today I learned they can also adopt things that move very, very fast and have more teeth than a military shredding unit. Senior Research Analyst Kryn here, currently stationed aboard the Imperial Observation Platform, Watchful Eye, documenting what started as a routine compliance inspection, and has now become a textbook example of why humans should never, under any circumstances, be left alone with endangered species. The Zelak Empire had been expanding its territory for 3 centuries, using a simple but effective strategy. Find worlds with valuable resources, relocate the native species to preservation zones, and establish mining operations, clean, efficient, and profitable. When they found Keras 4, a planet rich in rare metals and inhabited by a species of apex predators called Thrakari, the process should have been routine. Should have been. Imperial Commander Voss landed on Keras 4 with a full compliance regiment, expecting to find the usual collection of frightened natives and cooperative research teams. Instead, he found Dr. Kate Fletcher, a human xenobiologist who had apparently decided that Imperial regulations were more like gentle suggestions. Dr. Fletcher, Commander Voss transmitted from his command shuttle as it descended toward the research station. You were ordered to prepare the Thrakari specimens for relocation 6 months ago. Status report. Oh, that, came the cheerful response that would haunt my professional nightmares for years to come. Well, there's been a slight complication with the relocation process. Complication. She called actively sabotaging Imperial policy a complication. What kind of complication? Commander Voss demanded, his reptilian features showing the particular shade of green that indicated growing irritation. The cubs don't want to leave. I adjusted my recording equipment, certain I had misheard. Did she just say the predator cubs have expressed preferences about Imperial relocation? My research partner, Analyst Kix, fluttered his wings nervously. Impossible. Thrakari are non-sentient apex predators. They don't form opinions about administrative policies. Commander Voss's shuttle touched down at the research station, and what he found there violated approximately 17 different Imperial regulations, and possibly several laws of physics. Dr. Fletcher stood in the center of the landing pad, flanked by 6 juvenile Thrakari, who were arranged in what could only be described as a ceremonial honor guard. Each cub was roughly the size of an Imperial transport, covered in midnight black fur marked with intricate silver patterns, and possessed claws that could open armored vehicles like party favors, and they were all wearing matching red bandanas. Dr. Fletcher, Commander Voss said slowly as he disembarked, his security detail spreading out in tactical formation. Please explain why you have dressed apex predators in accessories. Oh, these aren't accessories, she replied brightly, patting the nearest cub on his massive head. These are team colors. Meet Alpha Squad, Dash, Fury, Swift, Prowl, Strike, and Little Valor here. Little Valor was approximately the size of a ground assault tank. Team colors, Commander Voss repeated, his voice carrying the flat tone of someone whose worldview was undergoing rapid recalibration. For the competition, Dr. Fletcher explained, as if this clarified anything at all. Competition? The Imperial Youth Development Initiative. You know, the program where young beings from across the Empire compete in various skills to demonstrate their potential for citizenship and advancement. There was a moment of silence so complete that I could hear the hum of our recording equipment from orbit. Dr. Fletcher, Commander Voss said with the careful pronunciation of someone trying very hard not to scream. Thrakari are non-sentient predators. They are not eligible for Imperial citizenship. Says who? The question hung in the air like an unexploded ordnance device. Commander Voss consulted his datapad frantically, searching for the specific regulation that excluded apex predators from citizenship applications. Says. He paused, his green scales shifting to a distinctly unhealthy yellow shade. Says, common sense. Common sense isn't a legal document, Dr. Fletcher replied with that dangerous cheerfulness that I was learning to associate with incoming diplomatic disasters. Besides, these cubs have already passed the preliminary qualification assessments. They've what now? Dr. Fletcher pulled out her own datapad, and began reading from it with the enthusiasm of someone reciting a grocery list. Dash scored 97% on spatial reasoning tests. Fury demonstrated advanced problem-solving capabilities. Swift completed the obstacle course in record time. Prowl showed exceptional strategic thinking. Strike mastered complex tool usage. And Valor here. She scratched behind the massive cub's ear. Has perfect scores in leadership and team coordination. This is impossible, Analyst Kix transmitted to me. Those assessments are designed for sapient species with advanced cognitive development. Tell that to them, I replied, watching as the cubs began demonstrating what appeared to be synchronized formations in response to subtle hand signals from Dr. Fletcher. Commander Voss activated his emergency communication array. Control, this is Ground Team Alpha. We have a situation that requires immediate legal consultation. What kind of situation? Came the response from the Imperial command ship. The kind where a human has apparently taught apex predators to file citizenship applications. The pause that followed was long enough for me to wonder if our communication array had malfunctioned. Repeat that, Ground Team Alpha. The Thrakari Cubs have submitted formal paperwork requesting recognition as Imperial citizens with full rights and privileges. Are you experiencing some kind of atmospheric contamination that's affecting your cognitive function? I wish I was, Commander Voss replied grimly. Dr. Fletcher, meanwhile, had begun what appeared to be a training demonstration. Dash, show the commander your navigation skills. The cub in question moved to a portable holographic display and began manipulating the controls with delicate precision that shouldn't have been possible for claws designed to tear through armor plating. Within moments, he had plotted an efficient course between 3 different star systems, while calculating fuel consumption and accounting for gravitational variables. Fury, tactical assessment, please. Another cub approached a different display and began analyzing a hypothetical combat scenario with strategic insight that would have impressed military academies. His solution involved minimal casualties, maximum efficiency, and several innovative applications of standard equipment that I hadn't seen before. This is a trick, Commander Voss declared. Some kind of holographic manipulation or remote control system. Swift, could you fetch the commander's datapad? Dr. Fletcher asked politely. The cub, designated as Swift, moved with liquid grace to where Commander Voss had dropped his datapad, picked it up with impossible gentleness, and returned it without so much as a scratch on the device's surface. Remote control doesn't explain fine motor control, Dr. Fletcher pointed out reasonably. How? Commander Voss asked, his professional composure finally cracking completely. How is any of this possible? Oh, that's simple, Dr. Fletcher replied. I asked them what they wanted to be when they grew up. You asked them what they wanted to be when they grew up. And it turns out, they don't want to be relocated to a preservation zone. They want to join the Imperial Academy, earn degrees in engineering and tactical sciences, and serve the Empire as productive citizens. The silence that followed was broken by the sound of Prowl successfully completing what appeared to be an advanced mathematics problem using claw scratches in the dirt. Dr. Fletcher, Commander Voss said, with the careful tone of someone addressing either a lunatic or a genius, these are apex predators. They hunt, they eat, they reproduce, and they die. They don't have career aspirations. Don't they? She asked, gesturing toward Strike, who was carefully disassembling a complex mechanical device and reassembling it with improvements to its design. Because it looks to me like they have very specific career aspirations. This is insane, Analyst Kix transmitted. She's anthropomorphizing natural predatory behaviors. Is she? I replied, watching as Valor organized the other cubs into a formation that demonstrated clear leadership capabilities and strategic thinking. Or are we missing something fundamental about what these creatures are capable of? Commander Voss activated his communication array again. Control, I need a legal expert down here immediately, and possibly a xenopsychologist, and maybe someone from the Department of Impossible Things. We don't have a Department of Impossible Things. Then create one, he replied, watching as all 6 cubs began working together on what appeared to be a construction project involving precise engineering and advanced mathematical principles. What are they building? I asked Dr. Fletcher through our communication channel. Oh, That's their application for advanced placement in Imperial Academy programs, she replied casually. They decided standard written applications were too limiting, so they're building a functional demonstration of their engineering capabilities. Building. They were building their college applications. Dr. Fletcher, Commander Voss said, even if, hypothetically, these creatures demonstrated sapient-level intelligence, they're still classified as dangerous predators under Imperial law. Dangerous to whom? She asked, watching as the Cubs continued their construction with meticulous attention to safety protocols. They haven't hurt anyone, they've demonstrated advanced problem-solving abilities, they work well in teams, they follow instructions, and they've expressed clear desire for education and productive participation in society. They're predators. So are half the species in the Imperial Academy, she pointed out reasonably. The Zenthari have retractable claws, the Korvax have venomous spines, and the Threx can literally dissolve metal with their saliva. We don't discriminate against them. That's different. How? Commander Voss opened his mouth to respond, then closed it as he apparently realized he couldn't articulate the difference in any way that wouldn't sound like species discrimination. Besides, Dr. Fletcher continued, look at their work ethic. She gestured toward the construction site, where the Cubs had apparently decided their project needed to incorporate advanced structural engineering principles. They were working with industrial precision, checking each other's work, and making improvements based on collaborative problem-solving that would have impressed professional construction teams. They've been working on this project for 16 hours straight, she noted. No breaks, no complaints, perfect coordination, and they're ahead of schedule. Ahead of schedule for what? The application deadline. Imperial Academy admissions close next week. Commander Voss stared at the Cubs, who had apparently decided that their construction project needed to include working examples of multiple engineering disciplines. You're serious? You actually believe they should be admitted to Imperial Academy? I believe they've earned the right to try, Dr. Fletcher replied simply. They've met all the qualification requirements, demonstrated the necessary skills, and shown genuine enthusiasm for education and service. What happens if the Empire says no? Dr. Fletcher's expression shifted slightly, taking on that dangerous pleasantness that I was beginning to recognize as a warning sign. Well then, I suppose we'll have to consider alternative educational options. Alternative options? The Galactic Federation has some excellent universities, very progressive admission policies. They don't discriminate based on species classification. The threat was subtle, but unmistakable. If the Empire rejected the Cubs' applications, she would take them to the Federation, along with all the advanced training, skills, and capabilities she had helped them develop. Dr. Fletcher, Commander Voss said slowly, are you blackmailing the Empire? I'm advocating for my students, she replied innocently. If that happens to involve pointing out superior educational opportunities elsewhere, well, that's just good career counseling. And that's when Little Valor completed the construction project by adding what appeared to be a functional communications array that immediately began broadcasting a signal directly to Imperial Academy admissions. The Cubs had built their own college application submission system. Control, Commander Voss transmitted wearily. I think we're going to need that legal expert after all. 20 minutes later, the legal expert arrived in the form of Judicial Advisor Keth, a stern Korvac, whose venomous spines clicked with bureaucratic irritation as she reviewed the Cubs' paperwork. This is highly irregular, she announced, her multiple eyes scanning document after document with growing bewilderment. The applications are technically perfect, every form filled out correctly, all supporting documentation properly notarized, qualification scores that exceed minimum requirements. But they're predators, Commander Voss protested. Irrelevant, Advisor Keth replied crisply. Imperial law makes no species-based exclusions for academy admission. If an applicant meets the requirements, they must be considered. Surely there's some regulation about dangerous animals. These applicants demonstrate cognitive abilities, educational achievements, and social cooperation that classify them as sapient beings under Imperial law, she interrupted. The moment they filed legal paperwork requesting recognition, they ceased to be classified as animals and became legal persons. Dr. Fletcher beamed proudly while scratching Dash behind his massive ears. I told them their paperwork was excellent. You helped them file legal documents? Advisor Keth asked. I provided guidance on proper formatting, Dr. Fletcher admitted. But all the content was their own work. Prowl actually caught 3 errors in the standard forms and suggested improvements to make them more accessible for non-humanoid applicants. Advisor Keth's spines rattled with what I was learning to recognize as judicial frustration. You're telling me that apex predators identified flaws in Imperial bureaucracy? Just inefficiencies, Dr. Fletcher said diplomatically. They're very detail-oriented. As if summoned by the discussion, Strike approached with a datapad and presented it to Advisor Keth with a gesture that somehow conveyed both respect and confidence. The legal document displayed on the screen made the Korvac's spines bristle with alarm. What is this? She demanded. A formal request for expedited processing based on exceptional circumstances, Dr. Fletcher translated. Strike noticed that their application was submitted during the academic evaluation period, which qualifies them for special consideration under subsection 47 of the Educational Advancement Act. They cited Imperial law extensively. Valor has an excellent memory for legal precedents. Commander Voss looked like he was developing a migraine. How do 6 predator cubs know more about Imperial law than my security team? They've had time to study, Dr. Fletcher replied reasonably. I provided them with access to the Imperial legal database as part of their civic education curriculum. You gave apex predators access to Imperial law? They're citizens now, she pointed out. Citizens have the right to understand the laws that govern them. The Empire demanded loyalty. The predator cubs saluted the human. Instead. Part 2. Advisor Keth's communication device began chirping urgently. Judicial control to Advisor Keth. We're receiving multiple priority transmissions regarding irregular Academy applications from Karis 4. Multiple? Commander Voss asked weakly. 6 applications to be precise, came the response. All flagged for immediate review due to exceptional qualification scores and unusual applicant classifications. Dr. Fletcher smiled that innocent smile that I was learning meant the situation was about to become exponentially more complicated. Oh good, the applications went through properly. Dr. Fletcher, Advisor Keth said with dangerous calm. Exactly how many Imperial departments are now involved in processing predator citizenship requests? Just the standard ones: Academy admissions, citizenship services, educational assessment, legal review, species classification, and… She paused to count on her fingers. Oh, and interspecies relations filed an inquiry about establishing formal diplomatic contact protocols. Diplomatic contact protocols for cubs who 6 months ago had been classified as wildlife. Fury chose that moment to approach Commander Voss with what appeared to be a formal presentation. The massive cub arranged several data pads on a makeshift table and began a systematic briefing that would have impressed military intelligence officers. Is he giving me a strategic analysis? Commander Voss asked in amazement. Resource optimization for Imperial mining operations on Karis 4, Dr. Fletcher translated proudly. Fury identified 17 ways to increase efficiency while reducing the environmental impact. He's particularly excited about sustainable extraction techniques. The Predator Cub has developed mining improvement recommendations. He prefers aspiring industrial engineer, she corrected gently. Advisor Keth's spines had gone completely rigid. Control. This is Advisor Keth. I need immediate consultation with the Department of Xenological Classification. We may have a situation that requires complete regulatory review. Define situation, came the terse response. 6 apex predators are demonstrating cognitive abilities that exceed Academy entrance requirements, while simultaneously requesting citizenship, proposing industrial improvements, and citing legal precedents with greater accuracy than trained professionals. The silence from control stretched long enough for Swift to complete what appeared to be a complex mathematical proof using claw marks in the dirt. Advisor Keth, came a new voice through the communication array. This is Director Zahn of Xenological Classification. Are you reporting the evolution of a new sapient species? I'm reporting that a human xenobiologist has apparently accelerated the cognitive development of an existing species to the point where our entire classification system requires revision, Advisor Keth replied grimly. That's impossible. Tell that to them, she said, gesturing toward Prowl, who had begun constructing what looked like an improved version of Imperial communication equipment, using spare parts from the landing pad. Director Zahn's transport arrived within the hour, accompanied by a full scientific assessment team, and what appeared to be half the Imperial bureaucracy. Dr. Fletcher greeted them all with the same cheerful enthusiasm she'd shown to the original inspection team, while the cubs arranged themselves in a welcoming formation that somehow managed to be both respectful and subtly protective of their human teacher. Dr. Fletcher, Director Zahn began without preamble, I need to understand exactly what you've done here. I provided educational opportunities to curious young minds, she replied simply. You've created sapient beings from non-sapient predators. I've helped existing individuals recognize and develop their inherent potential, she corrected. The capacity was always there. They just needed someone to believe in them and provide appropriate stimulation. Director Zahn activated his scanning equipment and began taking readings from the cubs, who cooperated with the scientific process, while simultaneously working on what appeared to be collaborative engineering projects. Cognitive development scores are off the charts, he muttered, staring at his instruments in disbelief. Problem-solving abilities, abstract reasoning, social cooperation, linguistic comprehension. These readings are consistent with advanced sapient development. Of course they are, Dr. Fletcher said proudly. These cubs are brilliant. They just needed the chance to prove it. But the evolutionary timeline, cognitive development on this scale should take millennia. Unless you provide individualized education, emotional support, and opportunities for intellectual growth, she interrupted. Amazing what proper nurturing can accomplish. Strike approached Director Zahn and presented him with a datapad containing what appeared to be a research proposal. The document was formatted with professional precision and contained theoretical frameworks that made the director's eyes widen with surprise. This is graduate-level xenological theory, he breathed. Strike's proposed thesis project, Dr. Fletcher explained. He wants to study the integration of traditional predator instincts with advanced technological applications. Very cutting-edge work. He wants to write a dissertation. They all do. Dash is interested in navigation and astrogation. Fury wants to focus on industrial engineering. Swift is fascinated by physics and mathematics. Prowl loves mechanical engineering. And Valor has chosen leadership studies and diplomatic relations. Director Zahn looked around at the cubs, who had organized themselves into study groups and were working on increasingly complex projects with obvious enthusiasm and remarkable competence. This changes everything, he said quietly. If cognitive development can be accelerated through proper education and emotional support, the implications for species development throughout the Empire are staggering, Advisor Keth finished. We're looking at a complete revision of sapiens classification, citizenship criteria, and educational access policies. That's when the really impossible thing happened. Valor, the largest of the cubs, approached the assembled officials and performed what could only be described as a formal military salute. Not a clumsy approximation, but a precise, respectful gesture that demonstrated understanding of military protocol and hierarchical respect. Then all 6 cubs turned toward Dr. Fletcher and saluted her with even greater precision and obvious affection. The message was unmistakable. They acknowledged Imperial authority, but their ultimate loyalty belonged to the human who had seen their potential and helped them achieve it. Did they just... Commander Voss began. Demonstrate understanding of military hierarchy while establishing clear chain of command loyalty, Advisor Keth confirmed. Yes. Dr. Fletcher returned their salutes with obvious emotion, then addressed the assembled officials. Gentlemen, ladies, and distinguished representatives of the Imperial bureaucracy, I present to you the first graduating class of the Keras 4 Advanced Development Program. 6 individuals who began as classified predators and are now qualified candidates for Imperial Academy admission. Director Zahn consulted his datapad one final time. The Academy Board has reached a decision regarding the applications. The Cubs gathered around Dr. Fletcher, their massive forms somehow conveying nervous anticipation, despite their predatory appearance. She placed protective hands on the nearest heads, ready to defend her students against institutional discrimination. All 6 applications have been accepted with full academic scholarships, Director Zahn announced. Pending successful completion of standard orientation programs, they will be enrolled as full academy students with complete citizenship rights and privileges. The celebration that followed involved 6 apex predators attempting to hug a human without accidentally crushing her, while Imperial officials tried to process the fact that they had just witnessed the birth of an entirely new form of citizen. How do we even begin to document this for the official record? Analyst Kix transmitted to me. Very carefully, I replied, watching as the Cubs began planning their academy careers with the same systematic approach they had used for everything else. And with a lot of footnotes about human educational methodology. Dr. Fletcher, meanwhile, had begun discussing graduate program options with Cubs who were already thinking beyond their undergraduate studies. Their enthusiasm was infectious, their intelligence undeniable, and their loyalty to their human teacher absolute. Dr. Fletcher, Commander Voss said as his team prepared to depart, what you've accomplished here will be studied for generations. What we've accomplished, she corrected, gesturing toward the Cubs who were now helping to pack Imperial equipment with careful efficiency. They did the work. I just provided the opportunity. And if other species demonstrate similar potential for cognitive development, then the Empire will need to expand its definition of citizenship, she replied simply. Intelligence, creativity, and dedication to service shouldn't be limited by species classification. As the Imperial delegation prepared for departure, the Cubs lined up in formal formation and saluted both the officials and Dr. Fletcher with equal precision. But the salute they gave their human teacher lasted longer and carried more emotion than military protocol typically allowed. 6 months later, Academy reports indicated that the Thrakari students were excelling in all their chosen fields, while serving as advocates for expanded educational access throughout the Empire. Their success had prompted similar programs on dozens of worlds, with hundreds of previously unrecognized sapient species applying for citizenship and educational opportunities. The Empire's definition of loyalty had expanded to include not just obedience, but the recognition that true allegiance comes from beings who choose their commitments rather than having them imposed. And at the center of this transformation stood a human xenobiologist who had seen potential where others saw only predators, and had given 6 Cubs the chance to become something greater than anyone had imagined possible. They had chosen to salute the human, instead of simply obeying the Empire, and in doing so, they had made both stronger. But the real test came 3 weeks after Academy acceptance, when High Admiral Torvin arrived unannounced with a battlecruiser and enough military hardware to level a small moon. Dr. Fletcher, his transmission crackled through the communication array with all the warmth of a neutron star. You are to report aboard the Imperial Dreadnought Inevitable immediately. Bring your students. Oh my, Dr. Fletcher said mildly, watching the massive warship blot out half the sky. That's quite an impressive vessel. Are we in trouble? Unknown, Admiral Torvin replied curtly. Imperial Command requires immediate assessment of the Karis 4 situation. What followed was the most surreal diplomatic boarding I've ever witnessed. Dr. Fletcher and her 6 Cubs were escorted to the Dreadnought's main conference chamber, where they faced a tribunal of the Empire's highest military and political leaders. The Cubs arranged themselves in protective formation around their human teacher, but their posture remained respectful rather than threatening. Dr. Fletcher, began Supreme Chancellor Vrak, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns that indicated extreme displeasure. Your unauthorized cognitive enhancement program has created significant complications for Imperial policy. Has it? Dr. Fletcher replied with that dangerous, innocent tone. I was under the impression that creating productive citizens was considered a positive development. You have fundamentally altered an entire species without proper authorization, oversight, or consideration of the broader implications. Chancellor Vrak continued. The Thrakari homeworld now has 17 different tribes demanding similar educational opportunities. 17 different tribes who have apparently been watching our success with great interest, Dr. Fletcher noted. How wonderful that they're motivated to pursue academic advancement. Admiral Torvin leaned forward, his cybernetic implants whirring softly. Dr. Fletcher, you have created a potential military asset of unprecedented capability. These cubs demonstrate tactical thinking, strategic planning, and coordination abilities that surpass our elite units. They demonstrate intelligence, creativity, and teamwork, she corrected firmly. The same qualities we should want in all citizens, military or civilian. The question, interrupted Defense Minister Cole, is whether their loyalty can be trusted. They salute you before they acknowledge imperial authority. That's when Valor stepped forward and did something that made every security officer in the chamber reach for their weapons. The massive cub approached the tribunal table and placed a datapad directly in front of Supreme Chancellor Vrak. "What is this?" she demanded, her crystalline surface reflecting wariness. "A formal proposal, Doctor," Fletcher translated proudly. "Valor has developed a comprehensive plan for expanding educational access throughout the Empire while maintaining appropriate oversight and quality control." Chancellor Vrak's light patterns shifted as she read the document. This is actually a viable administrative framework. With cost projections, implementation timelines, and assessment protocols, Admiral Torvin added, reading over her shoulder with obvious surprise. This level of bureaucratic sophistication typically takes decades to develop. "Valor is very thorough," Dr. Fletcher said fondly. "He understands that sustainable change requires proper planning and institutional support." Defense Minister Cole activated his own datapad. "Our intelligence reports indicate that your students have been communicating with Thrakari populations across multiple systems. Explain." "They've been sharing educational resources and motivational materials with their cousins," Dr. Fletcher replied simply, "encouraging others to pursue academic development and peaceful integration with Imperial society." "They're recruiting," Minister Cole accused. "They're inspiring," she corrected. "There's a significant difference." Dash approached the tribunal next, carrying what appeared to be a complex navigational chart. He spread it across the table and began pointing to specific locations with careful precision. "He's identified optimal locations for establishing educational facilities throughout Thrakari space," Dr. Fletcher explained, "taking into account resource availability, population density, and logistical considerations. The Predator Cub has developed an expansion strategy for our educational system," Admiral Torvin observed with growing amazement. "The aspiring academy student has provided a service to the Empire," Dr. Fletcher replied with gentle correction. Supreme Chancellor Vrak studied the navigational data, while her light patterns indicated rapid processing. "These recommendations would increase educational access by 300%, while reducing administrative costs by 40%. Dash is very good with efficiency calculations," Dr. Fletcher noted proudly. That's when Strike presented his own contribution. A detailed analysis of Imperial military doctrine with suggested improvements based on pack hunting strategies adapted for modern warfare. "This is classified information," Defense Minister Cole protested. "This is publicly available training material analyzed by a student who wants to serve the Empire effectively," Dr. Fletcher replied. "Strike believes that understanding current doctrine is essential for suggesting meaningful improvements. His tactical innovations are actually brilliant," Admiral Torvin admitted reluctantly after reviewing the analysis. "These modifications could improve unit coordination by 60%. Fury stepped forward with his industrial engineering proposals. Swift presented mathematical proofs that solved long-standing computational problems, and Prowl demonstrated mechanical innovations that could revolutionize Imperial manufacturing. They're not just intelligent, Chancellor Vrak realized aloud. They're actively working to improve Imperial society. "Of course they are," Dr. Fletcher said. "That's what good citizens do. They contribute their talents for the benefit of everyone." "But their loyalty," Defense Minister Cole began, "is to the principles the Empire represents," Valor interrupted, speaking for himself in carefully pronounced Imperial standard. "Justice, progress, protection of the innocent, and opportunity for all who earn it through merit." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The cubs weren't just loyal to Dr. Fletcher personally. They had internalized Imperial values and were working to uphold them more effectively than many born citizens. They speak Imperial standard, Admiral Torvin noted unnecessarily. They've been studying languages, law, history, and philosophy along with their technical subjects, Dr. Fletcher explained. Education is about more than just job skills. It's about creating informed, responsible citizens who understand their place in society. Supreme Chancellor Vrak's light patterns had shifted to what I recognized as deep contemplation. Dr. Fletcher, your methods have created citizens who are more dedicated to Imperial principles than many beings born within our borders. I've helped individuals recognize their potential and choose how to use it, she replied. The dedication comes from them. And if we ordered them to report for military service instead of academy attendance? The cubs exchanged glances, communicating through subtle body language before Valor responded. We would serve with honor, but we believe our talents would be better utilized in developing solutions to Imperial challenges through research and innovation. They're declining military service? Defense Minister Cole asked in astonishment. They're advocating for optimal resource allocation, Dr. Fletcher translated. Why use brilliant engineers as soldiers when you can use them to build better equipment for other soldiers? Admiral Torvin laughed suddenly, a sound that echoed strangely through the formal chamber. They've outmaneuvered us completely. We came here expecting to find a security threat, and instead discovered 6 beings who understand Imperial strategic thinking better than most of our generals. The question now, Supreme Chancellor Vrak said slowly, is how we scale this success without destabilizing existing social structures. Carefully, Dr. Fletcher replied. With proper planning, adequate resources, and genuine commitment to the principle that intelligence and potential exist in unexpected places. And with proper oversight to ensure quality control, Valor added helpfully. The Predator Cub is offering to help us manage Imperial educational policy, Chancellor Vrak observed, with what might have been amusement. The future Imperial Academy graduate is offering his expertise in organizational development, Dr. Fletcher corrected with a smile. As the tribunal session concluded, it became clear that what had started as a disciplinary hearing had become a strategy session for transforming Imperial society. The Cubs had not only proven their worth as citizens, but had actively contributed to solving the challenges their own success had created.